What's up, everyone? We're back with another episode of the Dub Jellison Podcast, and today I have former heavyweight champion Buster Douglas with me. Buster, how you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. So we're in the midst of this whole COVID-19 pandemic, and both of us as type 1 diabetics, we're more at risk to have serious complications with the disease or the virus, I guess. So how have you kind of been handling it?
I'm type 2, Doug.
Type 2? Mm-hmm. So how have you kind of been handling it?
Just staying put, basically. Staying in the house.
Mm-hmm. Have you been more cautious compared to like your family or friends or anything like that?
Yeah, that's why I've been really staying low key, not having too much socializing personally, maintaining a social distance.
Mm-hmm. What all have you been doing? Like at the house, what have you kind of been doing to like keep your sanity? Because I know it's hard to be in the house all cooped up.
Well, watching little TV videos mostly.
Mm-hmm. And how have you?
What's that?
Oh, keep going.
I'm good.
I was gonna say, how have your numbers been? Like, have you been health wise during this whole thing?
Pretty good. Numbers have been good. Just maintaining, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel that for sure. How have you been impacted by this mentally? Have you been stressed out or depressed at all? I know a lot of people have kind of been going through some tough times throughout this whole process.
No, for the most part, it's been pretty good. I haven't been too stressed about it. You know, just maintaining, trying to stay in control the best that I can.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to touch on when you were diagnosed with diabetes. I know it's a rough time for me. I'm assuming it was a really rough time for you. So kind of talk about that whole experience and what led up to that moment. And I know that whole time period of being diagnosed was really tough on you. So kind of talk about your experiences with that.
Well, I was going through a lot. Didn't know what was going on with me at the time when it started coming down on me. Feeling really, really disoriented and not feeling well and sleeping a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was like probably about the third day that I was taken to the hospital, and that's when I was diagnosed with diabetes.
Mm-hmm. And I know was that when you went into the diabetic coma? Was that like that time?
Yeah, that was the time that it was. I was in the process of moving as well, so I wasn't feeling really well, and I had put on a tremendous a lot of weight, and that really triggered it because being a type 2 diabetic is one of the symptoms are weight gain, throwing your body off.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a lot of things going on at the time. So
Was that kind of a wake up message for you to try to get your health in order?
big time. That was the biggest wake up call because when I woke up, I was in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been went into a coma for about 3 days. Came out of it, and I was like, "What is going on?" All these doctors looking down on me, and it was just really eye openers for sure.
So when you first woke up out of the coma, what were your first thoughts? Were you just like, where am I? What happened?
Right, it was like I got to change my lifestyle for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That was the biggest thing that struck me. It was like, so I got to the point where I guess it was just, not caring. I was going through a lot mentally, so it kind of affected me, and it, kind of led to it
Mm-hmm.
becoming a diabetic. been dealing with it ever since.
So after that kind of scare and being diagnosed with diabetes, what did you do to improve your life, health-wise?
Changed my lifestyle totally. I started getting more physically active again and eating right. And I even had a brief comeback as well.
Mm-hmm.
Started training to get back into shape. And it really all helped out really well, to get me through that part of my life.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that kind of that goal of returning to boxing, resuming your career, do you think that was kind of your biggest motivation in helping you get through that tough time and kind of helping you get your health in order?
Most definitely. That was a launching board, that's for sure. Definitely. I would have to say that was the biggest contributing factor.
And what was kind of the opinions of your friends and maybe peers in the boxing community when you wanted to make that return? Did they kind of doubt you after the things that you'd been through?
Probably 50-50. But I knew what I had to do and I was determined to do it. And it all worked out really well for me. So blessed in that sense and maintaining my positiveness and focus and achieving what I call just getting back into life.
Mm-hmm. Did you kind of lose, say at the beginning of your boxing career, were you super focused and then you maybe lost focus for a little bit and then you regained that through that experience?
Already went black.
Oh man, forget that. Fine. Did that work?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that all the negativity that I was getting, I was using it as a positive to succeed as well. So, instead of letting that negativity bring me down, I just turned it around and show them that I can indeed turn this thing around that's going on with me right now. And it did. Maintain focus and conquer it, and I did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. All combat sports fans were super happy that you got through that. So I wanted to get to your boxing career. How did this kind of, maybe let's start with, what do you think led to this moment? Because I know you had some tough times in the past that maybe could have attributed to this. You've been on record talking about after you became the champion, you kind of went through a dark phase. It really wasn't what you expected. Do you think that kind of led to that moment?
Oh, I would have to say most definitely it contributed to it. It was just I felt like I was being attacked, for achieving a lifetime achievement, becoming a heavyweight champion, and then having everybody in the boxing world come down on me like they did. And it was just really wasn't what I thought it would be. It was just the opposite of what I felt it was going to be, and it just really came down on me. And instead of dealing with it, kind of kept it within and didn't share it, and just took it out on me and abused myself with the eating and drinking and not really caring. And then once I woke up in that hospital on that gurney, it was like I knew I had to change my lifestyle immediately and start living for the right reasons. And here I am today doing it.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you tried any therapy, talking to someone about kind of the things that you've gone through?
No.
You haven't?
Hitting the bag was therapy, training, getting active again. That was the most important therapy I can think of was getting back into my lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
turning things back around, and getting healthy again.
Yeah, most definitely. So I wanted to kind of outline like how you started boxing, how you got into it, and then when you started taking it seriously, and how that led to you eventually becoming the heavyweight champion of the world.
Well, my father was a professional fighter and a national Golden Glove champion, the first in Columbus, Ohio. So that kind of was introduced to boxing at birth. And I got an interest in it, and he took me into the gym that he ran in Columbus. And I was like a 10-year-old, and then I just started from that point and really got involved with it competitively for the next 5 years. Then after that, I started getting involved with other sports, basketball, and football, and baseball. Then I went to college for about 2 years, and once I got finished after my sophomore year, I decided to come back and get back involved in boxing on a professional level. And my father, he turned me pro. So it all started from there, you know. Had to get reacclimated to boxing lifestyle, and it took a while, but eventually I got it together and kept fighting, kept plugging away, and got into a position where I can got ranked in the top 10 and got my first shot at the title at 87, and fought Tony Tucker and lost that bout. That just made my motivation even more. And then 3 years later, I got another shot at the title, and succeeded in beating Mike Tyson for the heavyweight championship of the world. So it was a battle throughout my whole career.
Mm-hmm. So obviously that's kind of when you bursted on the scene, I guess, in terms of the casual fan's eye, is when you knocked out Mike Tyson, who was, I mean, people thought he was unbeatable before that. What was your mindset going leading up to that fight? I know you had a tough time with your mother passing away less than a month before the bout. So talk about how that kind of gave you a little bit of extra motivation, and then what your mindset was throughout your whole fight camp leading up to that fight.
Well, it was very focused training for that fight. And then when my mom passed, it even made it even more intense because, you know, I knew how much I wanted to impress her and show her that I can do this. It was just made it even more intense. And we used it as a positive instead of a negative. I know she most definitely wanted me to succeed and give it my best, if nothing else. And it just added to the motivation, you know. Just made it even heightened it even better, the motivation.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that she was with you on that night? Do you think she was there?
Most definitely.
And I know, like, people my age, I'm only 20 years old, so I never really got to see Tyson box. But from what my parents have told me, and people are older than me, I mean, like, people were afraid of Tyson. So when you were making that walk, and when you stepped into that ring, were you scared at all, or were you just like, I'm gonna beat this dude?
Yeah, just focused and believed in myself and knew I belonged there. That's the most important thing. I knew I belonged there. It wasn't given to me. I had earned that opportunity to get the shot at the title. So it was just all the factors put together. It just made it even more determined and focused to feel comfortable, really, that I knew I was supposed to, that this opportunity was mine and I earned it. I was just going to make the best out of it.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think are the biggest differences between you and the guys that Tyson had previously beat in terms of your mindset and how you attacked how you approached the fight during the fight in the actual ring?
Well, I just think that's just it, the mindset, you know, the focus. I wasn't caught up in all the hype. You know, I knew I deserved that shot, and I was always there. I fought under about 6 undercards. When he defended this, didn't have him as no superhuman, so just maintain a positive focus and believe in my abilities. And like my dad always said, just let your hands go when you get in there.
Mm-hmm. So when you were in that fight, you got dropped in that fight. It was kind of a crazy fight. What was going through your mind when you were in that fight?
Kill, destroy, and be aggressive.
I mean, you definitely did that. So when you knocked him down in that 10th round, and you saw the ref wave the fight off, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
Childhood dream come true. Succeeding as being the heavyweight champion of the world. That's what I went into it for, and I was able to accomplish that. It's a lifetime achievement.
And did it hit you when you were in the ring, or did it kind of hit you afterwards? Did you kind of have that moment of realization where you're like, I'm actually the heavyweight champion of the world?
Yeah, right then and there. It was live. Instantaneous satisfaction. Achieving that goal was awesome.
Mm-hmm. And you kind of touched on it, how becoming the champion really wasn't what you thought it would be, wasn't what people made it out to be. Talk about kind of the tough times that you went through after, in terms of having to deal with other people, whether that be fake friends. I read an article where you said you looked down at your hands and you saw snakes. So kind of talk about that whole experience.
I don't know nothing about that.
You don't?
That was, whoa, it's out there. Never heard that or said that. But it was a great moment hearing my name being announced as the new undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. It was just on afterwards, leaving the ring, and then it was all the controversy, and then they had to go to court. It was just the dealings with all the legal obligations. After the court, after the leading up to going to court, rather. It was like a bitter taste, and kind of got to be stressful after a few months. Dealing with the all the allegations, and it just got to be a circus, media circus.
Mm. So how, like, when in your first title defense you fought Evander Holyfield and you ended up losing that bout, was that kind of something like relieved off your shoulders, something taken off your shoulders? I know that past champions have talked about when they've lost, they're kind of relieved a little bit.
Well, yes and no, because it wasn't how I wanted it to end, but it just made it kind of bitter taste in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started really downward spiral. Kind of left it inside me, dealing with it, not really expressing how I was feeling inside. Didn't make for a good time, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. So given that you're retired now, how do you look back on your entire career, and would you do anything differently in hindsight?
Well, it was just awesome experience. There's a lot I would do earlier differently for sure. But it's just life in general, so it's too many to mention. But it was just I made it to the top, and I succeeded at what I struck out to do, and that was the biggest accomplishment and the biggest satisfaction that I got, that I have.
Mm-hmm. And then since you've retired, how have you been embraced by the boxing community? I'm not fully into boxing. I'm more of an MMA guy, but I do appreciate boxing and I'm a fan of it. How have they kind of embraced you since you won the title, and then now that you've become retired?
They understand and appreciate the trials and tribulations that I went through to succeed, starting from my father's basement and obtaining the ultimate goal of becoming heavyweight champion is an ultimate experience and a tremendous drive. And, being respected for that is awesome in itself. And it's just a pleasure to be as one of the greatest, being the heavyweight champion, one of the heavyweight champions of all. And the history, so, it's just great.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I wanted to touch on was obviously coming into that Tyson fight, you were a heavy underdog, 42-1. And then after you won, do you think that you didn't really get the appreciation that you deserved? Do you think people were saying, "Oh, Tyson wasn't ready for that fight," yada yada yada, and, as opposed to them complimenting you and saying, "Buster came in that fight looking to knock him out"?
Well, everybody has their own opinion, so you don't always have that no matter what you do in life. But I'm satisfied and pleased in my career and the success that I've had in it and everything that I've attained. So, I could care less. Everybody has their own opinion. That's all you're going to do. That's just life.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. So a few things before I leave you. I wanted to ask you, who do you think is the best boxer that you fought? Was it Tyson or Holyfield?
They both were good. I would say they're probably about even. Holyfield probably is the best since he beat us both. So, but they were both tough fighters, both tough competitors.
Mm-hmm. And then who do you think is the greatest boxer of all time, regardless of weight class?
I think it's eras, different times. It's just, it's a lot of them out there that's doing a great job of winning the title, defending the titles, and maintaining it. So it's kind of hard to say. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of great champions in the past, and I'm sure there's going to be some great ones in the future. So boxing is alive and doing very well.
How much boxing do you watch nowadays?
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
Big fan of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
I like the smaller divisions the best. Little guys throw a lot of punches and very active.
You have a guy that's your favorite right now?
I have to say it's a toss-up between my best guy is Crawford. I like Crawford. Terrence Crawford.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's a beast. He's arguably pound for pound number one. How do you think that boxing has changed since you started to when you retired to now?
Not much. It's just different faces. And, other than that, it's about the same. It's just, I think it's getting better. I say it's getting better, getting even better champions and better contenders. And, it's even more exciting. But I think it's grown tremendously in a positive way.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, one of the faces of boxing right now is Tyson Fury, the heavyweight champ. What were your thoughts on his last fight against Deontay Wilder? He just completely neutralized Wilder. So what were your thoughts on their first two fights, and then what do you think the outcome would be in their trilogy match coming up here pretty soon?
They're going to be very competitive. And the first fight was a good fight. I think Wilder did a tremendous job of coming back and catching up with Fury and stopping him. And then the second fight, Fury did a tremendous job of staying focused and not slipping at the end of the fight, letting Wilder get the opportunity to catch him like he did in the second fight. And I think the trilogy fight is going to be even more exciting because they're both going to be on top of each other. And it's going to be who's going to be the most determined fighter who's going to win. So it's going to be something to look forward to see the trilogy. So it's going to be awesome, that's for sure.
If you had to pick a favorite, who do you think has the advantage in that fight?
tell you the truth, I think it's going to be even because they both got one win over each other, and it's going to be the man who stays the best, more focused, and ready to get it. And it's going to be who's going to jump on each other, who's going to get the lead and maintain the focus, and it's going to be a great fight.
Mm-hmm. And assuming, I mean, we could say Wilder gets by Fury or Fury gets by Wilder. Do you think Fury or Wilder would beat Joshua/Ruiz?
Well, that's gonna be interesting because once they get through fighting each other, whoever comes out of that has got a big task ahead of them because Joshua's gonna be there waiting. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, it's gonna be great for boxing, great for the fans, and I'm just excited and looking forward to it because it's gonna be a very competitive division now. So I'm excited, looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. And then just a couple things before I let you go. Obviously, big news this past summer that Mike Tyson's making his return against Roy Jones Jr. They push it back to November. But what are your feelings about both of those guys kind of coming out of retirement, excuse me, to fight again, even though it's an exhibition? And do you think more guys should do that, or do you think that, say, Tyson and Jones should hang up the gloves forever?
I think it's exciting for boxing in a sense, taste of a blast from the past, and it's going to be exciting to see those two guys go at it again. And, it's something that the public's want, obviously, and, just got a couple of guys that are willing to go out there and show their wares again. They still have the skills and the ability to do it at a top-notch level. So it's exciting. I think it's a positive.
Mm-hmm. Have you been watching any of the videos of Tyson training?
Yeah, I've been watching him. He looks good. He's really moving around, and flexibility is there, and definition, and he looks good. I'm excited to see that, he's focused and ready to go.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I forgot to ask a little bit earlier when we were talking about kind of the struggles after becoming champion. Obviously, Tyson's had his own demons to battle. Do you kind of sympathize with him and know where those stem from after you went through your own struggles?
Most definitely. It's just good to see that he's gotten past it and focused and in a positive way now. So that's a great thing to see it.
Mm-hmm. And then last thing is, what is your prediction for that Tyson-Roy Jones Jr. fight? Do you know?
I think it's going to be an exciting event, and both of them are going to be showing some flashes of the past and showing some brilliance of the future. So, it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to watching it.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. Everyone in the combat sports world is super excited for it, and even the casual fans are too. I got to wrap this up, but thank you so much for your time. I know we had a little bit of a scheduling issue a couple weeks ago. That was my fault, but I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. It was truly an honor to get to talk to you.
Sure, no problem, man. You have a great day.
Yeah, for sure. You too.